All right, back to a local body issue, the issue we started with. The people of Wanaka, the wokesters of Wanaka sleeping safe in their beds last night, knowing that the twin arches, the evil twin arches of the Sauron that is McDonald's, have been banished from Middle-earth. And just the craziness of this decision based on some really weird things like the feelings of the land. And look, even the Treaty of Waitangi was brought up on this. They weren't going to build any golden arches. They were going to rechange the architecture of it. But no, Wanaka's too nice to have a McDonald's. One MP came out very quickly with some views on this decision was the ACT MP Simon Court, and he joins us on the line now. Simon, good morning to you.
Good morning, Sean, and good morning to the platform listeners.
All right. Your take on the not in my backyardism of Wanaka's decision?
Well, the Resource Management Act, that's a planning regime. It's absolutely hostile to development, and it empowers not just NIMBYs and busybodies in the same town, but lobby groups from far and wide, and even public health agencies have the ability to object.
And that's when we got onto the story, when we found that public health agencies were quoting the Treaty of Waitangi on the taxpayer's dime to oppose this.
Yeah, and I mean, while you know, I'm sure we could get into that, it's actually the planning system that enables it, because the Resource Management Act treats everything that people see, look at as an environmental effect, where it's quite clear that the view that you or I appreciate, whether there's a building in the way or a house in the way or a lamppost in the way, it doesn't change the fact that there's no effect on the environment from someone seeing or not seeing a particular view. And if we're actually going to get stuff built in New Zealand, we're going to have to change the Resource Management Act to make it clear.
Don't you understand, Simon? It was going to be disrespectful. It was going to be disrespectful to the view.
Well, the problem is in New Zealand, 95% of the country is uninhabited, and if you turn around, you're going to see something that is nice to look at. But we can't have a planning system that enables NIMBYs, public health lobby groups, to oppose the development that they don't like. We want to replace the Resource Management Act. I'm working on that with Minister Chris Bishop as Under-Secretary. We're going to replace the system with a new system that says if you're peacefully developing your land and you've got a product or a service you're selling to willing buyers, then your activity shouldn't need consent of every Tom, Dick and Harry. And, while that might sound radical to people who think they should be able to object to a McDonald's or a Mitre 10 or, a supermarket that's opening up in town, New Zealand's not going to prosper unless we sort this out.
All right. It kind of makes a mockery of the "we're open for business" comments of Chris Luxon, doesn't it?
Well, we have a rolling program of reforms across, finance, resource management, infrastructure funding and financing that I'm involved in as well. But it's taken New Zealand about 30 years to grind everyone down to a point where we can hardly move. It's going to take a little bit longer to sort all the stuff out, but we do have a pretty significant program. And I think what we'll see this year is the green shoots of that deregulation.
Okay, here's my question. Do your proposed changes, or this coalition's proposed changes to the Resource Management Act, would that have allowed the Maccas to go ahead in Wanaka? Or stopped it being stymied by the busybodies?
Well, that's right, because if you're thinking about what are the environmental effects of doing a development, you've got noise and dust and odour from an ongoing operation. Neighbours need to be confident that if a business is setting up next door, that those effects on their enjoyment of their property are going to be controlled. Tick to that. During development, you've got earthworks and construction traffic. There are potential effects on the environment. So, you've got to say, look, that's going to be in the new system. We're going to manage real environmental effects. But effects on people's feelings and... Not people's feelings, the view's feelings. The view's feelings, matters that are not actual effects on the environment can't be part of the new resource management system. The ACT National Coalition Agreement says we're going to replace the system with a new system based on enjoyment of property rights. That's a focus for Minister Bishop and myself, and I know that we'll be making decisions about that and be able to talk about that a little bit more in the coming months.
All right. So Okay, I hear your position on this, Simon. While I've got you here, where are you on fluoride? Where's the ACT Party on the fluoride referendum?
Well, I'm a civil engineer. I'm not a fluoride specialist. But, Sean, what I'd say is that, people drinking water out of a tap in their town should firstly be confident that it's safe to drink. And that's why we've got local water done well reforms that are going to make sure that councils are investing in their water infrastructure. We had a case recently in Wellington where Wellington Water had a piece of equipment breakdown and they weren't treating the water properly. And that went on for months before council or anyone was notified about it. So we're really focused on safe drinking water and infrastructure that's not leaking all over the place like it is in Wellington right now.
All right, but what position is the ACT Party going to take on the referendum for local control over fluoridation?
Well, the ACT Party voted in favour of legislation to make that a decision for public health authorities.
Okay.
Right, and that we haven't changed our view. It hasn't come up with our caucus. Also, I'd just make a note that the proposed changes are in a members' bill. It would have to be drawn, then it would have to be debated. And at that point, if there's anything that needs reconsidering, I'm sure the ACT caucus will have a close look at it. But we're pretty confident that councils should just be focusing on delivering good infrastructure and making sure the water's safe to drink.
All right. Look, the other one I want to ask you about, the anti-woke banking bill. You guys got a position on that? Because when we talk about this issue of New Zealand actually being closed for business because of attitudes, it would seem to me that the amazing position of the BNZ, for example, on lending to mining companies, fossil fuel companies, is also a risk to economic activity. New Zealand First wants to do something about that. Would you support them in that?
Well, there certainly is a need to have a wider look at this.